Valerie?
I haven't. What do
Okay.
you mean?
Oh, no, that's okay. No big deal.
I can help.
No, that's fine. Yeah,
Sure?
yeah. Prince's song, Let's Go Crazy. Is it on its face a big party jam from the massively successful LP Purple Rain? Or is it a song that reflects the all-time biblical struggle between good and evil in its lyrics? Or is this all a bunch of psychobabble bullshit? Let's get into it. Hey everyone, I'm Michael Douglas. Welcome to this edition of Dr. Pundit, where we talk about music, not medicine. And on this edition, we'll be talking about the song Let's Go Crazy by Prince, not within the scope of being a #1 hit, which it was, but in the scope of its lyricism. That's right, another edition of It's All in the Lyrics. Now, before I get started on this particular show here, was the first show done about Prince on this channel that looked at his #1 1989 hit, Bat Dance. Well, we won't be talking about that today. We'll be talking about Let's Go Crazy and its lyricism. So without further ado, let's get into it. Prince's music possessed the ability to deliver thunderbolts of invigorating energy, stirring all kinds of emotion before you even heard a single lyric. But when you dove deeper, you realize that much of the heft that the music portrayed and expressed was matched only by the lyrics. Now let's take a look at his 1984 #1 smash, Let's Go Crazy, the follow-up to an even greater smash, When Doves Cry, from the iconic Purple Rain album. This massive hit is a sugar rush of epic proportions. Slashing guitars, relentless rhythms, and that's the flash. But the substance comes from Prince's message about choosing the right side between good and evil. Now, Prince had already started making major inroads toward commercial success when his 1999 album came out in late 1982. Songs like Little Red Corvette and Delirious were massive hits, and especially songs like Little Red Corvette that had a really sultry video that accompanied the track and made it his very first top 10 pop hit. Most of the people in the mainstream were new to Prince, and this was their first taste of his immense talent. But when he came back a couple of years later with Purple Rain, he managed to raise the stakes in every way. Not only was he going to be releasing his highly anticipated new album, but he decided he'd also be starring in a semi-autobiographical movie that featured his music. It was a big roll of the dice for all involved, including Prince, considering such works were reserved for artists who had much longer track records. But Prince didn't seem to harbor any of those concerns, at least not publicly. He probably knew that he had the goods in terms of the songs on that album, along with a band and the revolution that somehow made the music even more vibrant and accessible. Now, accessibility aside, he was writing lyrics that had a deep personal meaning. On its surface, Let's Go Crazy sounds like an invitation to a party, right? But the lyrical intent was to depict a struggle between the forces of light and dark. In fact, Prince's original lyrics were much more overt than their religious references. And sensing the song had potential as a hit single, he dialed that back a bit in favor of a more polished, finished version, although there are still hints that are evident. Now, Prince begins Let's Go Crazy by sermonizing,
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life.
He promises that in the afterworld, there are great rewards for waiting. But before you can get to that point, you're going to be set adrift and forced to decide where you stand. He warns,
This life, you're on your own.
now once the beat kicks in and we move into the heart of the song, the perspective of the narrator, Prince seems to change. No longer is he a preacher with all the answers, but rather an everyman trying to get through the chaos of life. And that includes dealing with unfaithful lovers, which we find out when he calls for her advice and then mimics the sound of heavy breathing to explain what he heard on the line. In the second verse, he spends time philosophizing. When he ponders why everyone seems to be so excited, he guesses,
Maybe it's 'cause all gonna die. When we do, what's it all for?
this guy is definitely having a crisis of faith, and he's trying to work out all the answers. Prince seemed to understand innately that his audience was likely doing the same. And in the chorus, Prince decides that simply wallowing in the midst of all this uncertainty isn't the best approach. Better to rage and rave against it.
Let's go crazy. Let's get nuts.
Now, the following lyrics allow his eccentricity to enter the fray.
Look for the purple banana till they put us in trouble. Let's go.
Instead of letting the D elevator take us all down the unfortunate path to what fate beholds us, Prince wants to uplift us and get us on the right path. With Let's Go Crazy, he clandestinely delivered his message of righteousness amidst a gloriously funky party. Now, I have to admit, when I first heard the song Let's Go Crazy, yes, it was pretty much a party jam, and that's what you would take it for, especially as a 16-year-old kid who bought the album that summer and played the hell out of it. But kind of reflecting on it more than 40 years later, a little bit more, I guess, 40 years later, one cannot escape what he may have been trying to say just underneath the hood. And I can completely understand that sentiment. And I urge you to do the same thing when you listen to this track, and especially 40 years on. Does it really kind of take that meaning? You can let me know in the comments, I suppose, but it's a much deeper song than I think a lot of people really realize. From a fantastic album, of course, a classic album that I, like a lot of other people, play multiple times a year. Let's Go Crazy. We dove into those lyrics by Prince and the Revolution. I'm Michael Douglas, and if you like what you see here on the channel, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. It helps bring the algorithm out, and this episode gets out to a broader audience, even more than I have now. So please like as well. As the late, great Barry White always used to say, let the music play, and I'll see you on the next episode.